the whole thing about you can't see the outside of the pickle jar from inside of the pickle jar, which is kind of true. It is difficult to see, but when you can get outside and actually see the label and all of a sudden go, oh yeah, that is what was happening.
Yeah.
Because at the time you're just trying to put one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely. And it was, I'm going to wake up this morning and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to deal with this next panic attack when it comes. And all of that survival mode, which for me lasted a lot longer than I know that it did for some people. And, my body was just kind of stuck. And it was one foot in front of the other. But I guess you're right. I never thought about it, and I'm not a fan of pickles, so I'm going to pick some other kind of jar. But yes, you're right. And they say, fish don't know they're in water,
Yeah.
right? Because you just are. It's just the environment that you're in. So I take your point in that it is hard to recognize it until you have some distance from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Trauma is a insidious thing.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
That is a very positive way to put it, Manya. Well done. Well done. And you do keep giving with it. I mean, you talk internationally, South by Southwest, TEDx. These aren't small stages. So you're continuing to educate, you're continuing to teach, you're continuing to lead. Can you tell me a little bit more about what led you onto that path to be the vocal advocate?
I think two things. So early on, that anger spurred me on to try to get people to recognize the mental health impacts. Mm-hmm. And I started sharing my story and in a couple of places. And I very specifically, I was asked and I answered with, yes, please keep me anonymous. I don't want to share my name, but share my story. And people responded to the stories. That's my experience. That's my husband's experience. Thank you for sharing. And at some point I realized that one of the things that I'm, I guess, fighting, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but fighting against is the stigma about talking about mental health issues. And I think that is a piece of the puzzle of why we still don't focus so much on the mental health side of things. And I realized that by not putting my name and face to the story, I was buying into the stigma that it was bad or embarrassing to own the story. So somewhere in there, I decided, I don't know how, but I just decided, nope, if I'm going to do this, then I have to put a face and a name to the story. And early on, a friend texted me after something I had done. And she said, great to see the post, great to see you out there. Just don't read the comments. And I was like, yeah, got it. And and in those kind of instances, I absolutely haven't. And then a friend asked me about my story and I told him, and he said, oh, you need to be talking about this. We need to get you on a stage and start talking about this. So he organized a panel discussion of which I was one piece about the whole incident for a communications organization that we were part of. And I realized in that moment two things. The value of me standing in front of a group of people was it helped me just internally to share the story and see that people were listening to it and to, processing trauma often is a lot about talking about it and working through it. So that was literally helping me heal. And the other piece was these people are hearing this. And if even only one person who listens makes a change, that's something that's different from before when I didn't share my story. So I recognized the value of that and decided I wanted to start talking about it. And in the first couple of years after the bombing, as these things go, everybody wanted to have a bombing survivor on their stage to hear about things. So, and I don't say that to mean, that I suck and the only reason anybody got me on stage is because I'm a survivor. But
Yeah.
there was certainly early on, that was a draw for people.
Yeah.
A particular draw. And so I got on a lot of stages and I talked about it, and it was so valuable. And somewhere in there, I just realized, this is what I want to do. It's really important to me to help as many people as possible not feel the way that I felt after the worst day of my life, which is I felt invisible and like it was my fault. And I want to change how we talk about mental health. I want to change how we support people after trauma so that fewer people feel that way. People feel supported. People feel able to heal maybe faster because they've been validated. And their experience, people have said, I believe you. And what can I do to help?
Yeah. I find it interesting that the word you used was that you felt heard. Because that's so important, to no longer feel invisible, to no longer feel like you're just yelling out into the void and there's nothing and there's nobody and you're all alone.
Yeah. I still feel that way sometimes. Because not everybody, for whatever reason, is open to the message of compassionate leadership, of empathetic leadership, of we need to pay attention to trauma survivors. We all bring different skills and beliefs to the table. And I definitely can get frustrated when I bump up against an organization or a person who doesn't see the value of what I do. And then I move on because that's not my target market then.
Yeah. Well, and they're the ones that lose, frankly. Yeah. And I can say that because it's my show. So there. So that's what I'm saying. That's my opinion and I'm sticking to it.